Hello, and welcome to another live episode of the Arkin Brothers Talk About Movies. This week, we are talking about the phantasmagorical Trog from 1970, starring Joan Crawford, Michael Gough, and Bernard Kay. It's an incredible story about the discovery of a troglodyte in a cave in England and the hilarious hijinks that ensue. And I'm Matthew Arkin. That's my brother, Anthony Arkin, and we're going to talk about it. And I cannot wait to do a deep dive into the dark cave of this movie.
Let's do it.
Talking about cocktails that are stylish, movies great or phony, and how Tony should win a Matthew, and Matthew should win a Tony. But in the meantime, talking about film in the meantime. The Arkin Brothers talk about movies.
That's how I felt this morning when I woke up.
That's what you sounded like. That's every morning when I was waking up in the house with you.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm trying to get comfortable. I don't know what's happening to my chair. I don't have one of those cool racing gamer chairs, so I'm never comfortable. Okay.
You never.
No big deal.
That's sad.
How you doing?
I'm doing okay. You know, busy. Running around, selling booze, watching movies.
Right. Nice. As you do.
As I do. You know, that's what it says on my Instagram. Join me for a cocktail and a movie. That's like my whole life right there.
That's a pretty good. It's a pretty good spread. I mean, you don't need a heck of a lot more than that.
I wish though that I was just drinking cocktails and watching movies instead of having to make cocktails and booze and teach about movies. That would be much more relaxing if I just had to drink and watch movies. But sadly, that's not how my life has turned out.
Well, maybe there are young people out there who could use your guidance, who need your insight.
No, they
should let that inspire you.
Oh, really? Okay.
No, no, don't.
It's those poor kids who rely on me for guidance. Look how well my guidance has worked for me.
Well, look where you're leading them. If they're following you to the bowels of the film industry, to the very bottom of the barrel of the film industry.
So how has your week been?
The same as yours, running around like a crazy person.
Yeah.
Hair on fire, screaming down the hallway. Did you
eat anything really interesting this week?
No. Well, I did. I know I cook a lot at home. We don't eat out a lot, which is good because I like to cook. So I did make something new last night, which I was proud of.
What did you make?
Well, sometimes you see what's there, or you put something together that because you don't want to go to the store. So we always have pasta in the house, So that was always a thing we could do. And I had roasted vegetables, beets and parsnips.
And there you go.
End of segment.
And join us next week
for Frog. Yeah, so I there was roasted beets and parsnips, chopped those up, did that with some pasta, so there was some actually with some broth, so the beet color flavor colored the pasta. It was great. Very nice. Roasted vegetables with penne was the best thing that happened to me food wise.
Wow, that sounds great.
It's okay.
All right.
I would have charged you maybe $14 for it.
I would have paid $18 in New York.
Yeah,
insane nonsense.
No, that would have been the going rate for this dish in New York, but I would have given it to you for $14, $15.
Because you're my brother and you love me. Yeah.
How about you? Culinary exploits?
Culinary exploits. Not a lot. I was down with Bruce for a couple of nights because
you had some events, some liquor.
We had some events. We were at the San Diego Bay Food and Wine Festival, pouring batch 22 for people, and
How many people did you pour for?
We poured for about 500 people on Friday night and about 700 people on Saturday day.
Wow, that's like 400 people.
Yeah. And what was kind of amazing was there was we've started keeping track of people's reactions when they first taste batch 22 and writing, because we have to argue with people to get them to taste it because it doesn't really fall into a category. So they're like, what is it? But is it like this? No. Is it like that? Is it a tequila? No. Is it a scotch? No. Well, then what is it? Like, just if I get people just like smell it, because then they go, oh, and then they taste it. And the best 3 reactions we got this weekend were, one person said, very praiseworthy, said, shit, this stuff is magical.
Isn't that wonderful?
It is. It's wonderful. Then the next person said, shit, where's my girlfriend? Which was a great.
Are those? Was that related in any way?
Yeah, he was like, because he had to tell her about it. He had to go tell her.
Okay.
About it. And then the best one was somebody went, oh, what just happened?
What just happened is great. That might be the byline for the whole business.
The whole business. What just happened? Because they were so surprised at what it tastes so unexpected. And then, but so that was fun. Then we went out for one of the best sushi meals I've ever had after that. But tonight I'm looking forward to, we're going to a place called Eddie V's Steakhouse. And I say the names of these places. I want to make it clear. We don't have sponsors. I'm not plugging anything.
What exactly?
What? We don't get any money. We don't get any money for doing anything on this show. It's a labor of like. But we're going to Eddie V's Steakhouse, where a few months ago I had one of the best steaks I ever had in my life. So I'm looking forward to that tonight.
Wow, that's big words, almost fighting words.
Well, we're meeting our lawyer. We're meeting one of our lawyers there for a confab
to determine whether it's the best steakhouse, maybe one of the best you've ever been to.
No, just to plan the next steps in our quest for world domination. Yeah.
When you start having steak dinners with your lawyer, shit's real.
Things are really real. Yeah.
You're in a new territory now.
We are in new territory.
That wasn't like a thing you did normally before this.
I didn't used to do that. I did not used to do that.
Strategize what restaurant.
Yeah. I wake up every morning and I say, who am I? I have no idea who I am anymore. So
just like that movie, Wall Street.
Is that what happens in Wall Street? I didn't see it.
It's one of the best lines in movie history. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen.
What is it?
Charlie Sheen. It's after a montage of Charlie Sheen, having a night on the town after he finally makes his first millions or whatever.
Right.
And he's gone to every disco and done all the drugs, and he's, and leaves his bedroom where a model is sleeping, and he's like in his bathrobe, and he walks out and looks over the skyline of New York, and he looks sad, and he says, who am I?
Wow.
And it's I thought it was a howler then, and I still do.
Okay, well, that is not my life. Things are going well with the business, but I'm not going to nightclubs, and there certainly is not a model in my bed. So
you're both crazy.
That is crazy. I wasn't trying to say that I thought that's where you should be or what should be happening. I was evoking the movie.
We need the public on our side.
It's true.
Yeah.
We do.
We better clean up our act on this show if we want to have the public on our side. I know a way to get the public on our side.
Not do a show.
Not do a show. No, but there's a better way to get the public on our side. You know what people love?
This whole abomination is hurting business.
Yeah, the business is hurting the business.
Yeah. Our show is destroying our show.
Yes.
We'd have better viewership if we didn't have a show.
As designed on purpose, it is literally would be better. We'd have a lot more followers.
Yeah.
Should we do
nothing? No, but I know a way to make people love this show right now. People love... Yeah, that's it. People love people who love their moms.
Well, there she is.
There she is.
Hello,
Coming into this
everyone.
episode of Mom's Corner.
I'm
Hi,
so-
Mom.
Hi, Matthew. Hi, Anthony. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, it's great to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you.
I've heard you listen to the show.
I listen or watch it. I like to watch because I see my boys in, as a site, which is a great site. And so I watch it pretty much every week. I do, or listen. Yeah, it's great. And
We got to clean this show up a little bit.
Yeah.
No, don't do that. No.
We got to spruce it up. Well, thank you. That's very nice of you to say that you watched that. You do tell me that you watch the show and you listen to the show.
I do tell you that, and it's true. I've just had a thought sitting here and listening to you, is wondering if we could have that pasta and roasted vegetables as a side dish on Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Could you make it for us?
Sure. That's easy. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry you won't be here, Matthew. But...
I'm only gonna, for you, I'll do it for like $13.
Okay.
That's fine. You guys go have fun. Go have fun without me.
We'll miss you, Matthew.
We'll miss you.
Of course we will.
I'll
But
miss
you
you.
with your lawyer eating steak. So
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
You are going to that event, and
I
you've
am going
also
to that.
been to the events with all the events with our wonderful producers and West Coast branch that I never get to do. So
That's true. And I'm gonna have a horrible food Thanksgiving because I'll be down at Bruce's.
yeah,
who
you're
most
not going to have any
people
problem.
went to the French Culinary Institute, and it's going to be just an extravaganza.
So I have a question for you, though, Mom. You said you want a pasta dish as a side dish, or so it's like a classic Italian style where you have a little pasta before your main. Is that what you're thinking?
That would be great. I'd like to know your thoughts on that.
I think that would make sense.
Yeah, I do too.
It's very filling, so I don't know.
It wouldn't
Clashing with the potatoes is perhaps dangerous, but workable.
Well, you think it over. If it doesn't seem quite perfect to you, we'll have it at another meal.
Okay, well, here's
Carrie, lovely. Thank you. Hi, Carrie.
Have you seen Trog, Mom?
No, oh no.
You've never seen it. Are you a Joan Crawford fan?
I like her. Yes, I'm more fascinated with Betty, but that's the way it goes.
Well, for our viewers, this is why we brought Mom on the show today, specifically because when she was watching last week's show, which was Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, it turns out that Mom has some fantastic stories about Betty Davis that she wanted to share with us.
Well, this is a kind of a correction, right? I mean, I had stated incorrectly that Grandma, your mom, had been friends with Betty Davis in college. I think I said that on the show.
Or at the American Academy.
Or at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. And that was not completely correct.
But they were friends. And I was sitting here, and it was not a live show. For me, I was watching a streaming of it, and I couldn't fill in the little chat boxes to correct you.
Okay.
Very frustrating.
Well, this did get you onto the show, though, this ploy. So I think
I'm very thankful for it, really. Well, here's what I do know. You did not get wrong. They were friends.
Okay.
My mom, your grandma, and Betty Davis were friends in Massachusetts. They grew up in neighboring towns very close to each other, Lowell and Newton. And I'm not sure. I thought maybe it was the same, that both Newton, but apparently it was Lowell and Newton, but they played together a lot.
Who was in Lowell and who was in Newton?
Betty was in Lowell.
Okay.
And Grandma was in Newton.
Okay.
And also
Lowell is where Jack Kerouac comes from
really?
as well, which may have been similar timing.
Interesting. Betty was born in well, I could be correct. No, I'm pretty much 1908, 2 years older than Grandma.
Okay.
And Grandma was best friends with her sister, her younger sister, who I think was named Barbara, but our producers could check that for me. But they were best friends, and then the three of these girls played together a lot.
Amazing.
And it always interested me, and Grandma had very fond memories of that. She loved Betty, and it was like a connection between them, the two of them, really.
Well, Matthew brought that up on the show, and I'd always felt that too. There was something very similar about them, and
Yes,
in Betty's most flattering moments, like
yes, I
you know,
agree.
honestly.
Not in the whatever happened to Betty.
Well, no, that wasn't here.
No,
but,
that was
more
not
like
what reminded me of
The Man Who
Grandma.
Came to Dinner, or movies like that.
Yeah,
reminded me a
definitely
lot of Grandma.
similar. Very similar. So,
And what's interesting is you had said like there's something that wouldn't have happened if they'd gone to college together. The fact that they kind of grew up together,
yeah,
you could see her influence as an older friend on her. That's incredible.
yeah, and that was fascinating, and I heard about that a lot growing up. The other thing I wanted to mention, which is a sidebar to this, is that I think you said, Tony, that they may have met at the American Academy because they were both actors at that point.
Right.
And Grandma did go to the American Academy, is where she met Grandpa.
Right.
Before that, she went out with who she called Hank Fonda. So they dated, for my memory, is like 6 months or so.
Wow.
And then
That's insane. Oh
she
my
chose
God.
Grandpa. So she, I'm happy for that. I know, or I wouldn't be here. But
Yeah.
No, we'd still have you on the show. even
it wouldn't exist, Matthew.
Oh, that's right. Okay, got it. Sorry.
Good boy. Good boy.
That is incredible. Hank.
Hank.
Hank Fonda.
I never
You know-
Hank.
Mr. Stewart, our drama teacher in
Yes.
high school, right? Did you knew Mr.
Oh,
Stewart,
yeah.
right?
Phil.
Tony
Phil Stewart for
Phil
sure.
Stewart
Yeah, of course.
at Greeley.
Of course.
He went to Northwestern, I believe, with Hank Fonda.
Oh, really?
I think he called him Hank Fonda.
And Jimmy Stewart went to Princeton with Grandpa,
Who
Right?
Jimmy Stewart? I believe so.
or like a year before.
Overlap.
He was a year older or something.
Yeah,
So what is going on? There's so many weird connections.
there are many weird connections in life.
And you're right, Mom. It was Barbara Davis. That was her sister's name.
Barbara Davis. That's what I thought.
So Sophia
And
is letting us know.
Grandma once told me, this is a memory deep inside my brain, that's where she got the idea for my name.
Wow.
How about that?
Well,
Wow.
that would make sense. Her best friend growing up,
Yeah.
that name would resonate with her. She wouldn't not think of it if she named you that. That's for
Right.
sure.
Would certainly come into her mind.
Amazing.
Matthew, I can't hear you. Are you speaking?
I'm not.
He's just aghast.
I'm just no.
He's agape and aghast.
I'm agog. I'm agog.
He's trogged out.
I'm trying totally.
Hey, somebody having fun?
So, did you ever run into Joan Crawford?
No, actually.
No run-ins with her.
No run-ins. No.
What?
No, no, it would have been nice. I just didn't,
Right. Well, I don't know if it would have been nice. Maybe it would have been nice. I think it could have depended on the day, the way it would have depended on the day hanging out with Betty, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Depends on the day.
It depends on the day. Yep.
That's my guess. Anyway.
Well,
Thank you so much for correcting us and for coming on the show and
thank you for inviting me.
and bringing this information, because now I feel almost like we just did 23andMe, like we learned some important things about our
About the
family tree, even though it's not really our tree.
It's not really our tree, but it is
It's an adjacent shrubbery.
And I do want to reiterate too that it was not anything about whatever happened to baby Jane. that reminded me
Oh, I didn't.
of the similarity between
I
Betty
think-
Davis and Grandma.
No, I didn't think that.
Betty Davis and Dad, maybe, from
Oh,
what
yeah.
I have the baby saying, but not Grandma.
No, I
Um,
understood that.
Yeah, I think for Grandma, we'd look to more like All About Eve.
All
That's the
About Eve,
Betty Davis that I
Yeah.
think reminds me of Grandma.
Similar.
Yeah.
Very
Definitely.
Well,
well.
thank you.
So much, guys. This has been a treat.
We'll have you back again. Not
Okay.
even just if we've made a mistake, but
Okay.
for other
Yeah,
pieces
who
of
is
info.
that? Is he in the movie?
That's
That's
Trog.
Trog.
Okay.
That's the
Yeah.
title character of the film that we're about to discuss.
Stick around in the green room,
I will.
and you'll learn more than you want to know
I don't.
about Trog.
Thanks a lot.
All right. Thank you, Mom.
Love you, Mom.
Never show fear.
Never show fear.
Never show fear.
Well, that was great. How nice of her.
I'm actually having fear right now.
Are you having fear?
I'm having a lot of fear.
In that case, I'd advise you to cooperate.
What? Somebody's on fire back there today.
Yeah.
There.
Really.
That's great.
Yeah, some good stuff
We've
going
hit
on.
our stride.
Yeah, I'm
So-
having a lot of fear, which I
Around
will.
what?
I'll
Okay.
tell you the source of my fear after we talk about the movie. I don't want to talk about it before talking about the movie
Okay.
because I want our conversation to be unadulterated and unfiltered.
Okay. Okay. I feel like there's something that I've done. I'm in trouble.
No, you're not in trouble for anything. You are
Okay.
not in trouble.
This isn't like after the show a shoe's gonna drop,
No, you're just
but
you,
just
you-
be
you-
nice for an hour.
No, all my shoes have dropped already.
Okay.
So Trog, 1970,
Mm-hmm.
Joan Crawford. This movie is somewhat a precursor, in my mind, to books on tape. It's kind of like Joan Crawford doing a film on tape, where she decided to sit down and read the script rather than
Enact it.
enact it. She showed up thinking that she didn't know she was making a movie. She thought she was showing up to read a teleplay or a radio play, perhaps.
Yeah, it is a bit of a radio show performance. Yeah.
Because she is very clearly, well, let's tell people what it's about. Okay. It is Joan
The gorilla,
Crawford.
the ape, and the baboon were beginning to leave the forest and the jungle.
Three English gadabouts, scientific gadabouts, are exploring a cave.
Spelunkers.
Spelunkers.
Weekend spelunkers.
Weekend spelunkers.
In, like some of the best spelunking clothes you'll see. Like
You'll ever
tweed
see.
jacket and a pair of loafers.
No, these guys are pros. They go into a cave and go swimming.
As you always do when you go deep into a cave.
Yeah.
And
And
you
one
strip
of
down
them-
to your boxer shorts. These guys are in their underpants.
in their underpants, they go swimming and their underpants are alternately wet and dry, and then wet again after they go swimming in them.
To keep it demure.
They run into a troglodyte that is somehow, and who has somehow survived for millions of years in this cave.
Great.
Still alive.
Which is an issue that they never bother explaining.
How he lives?
No, why?
Well,
why?
It's a very healthy diet: grubs and worms and stuff. A lot of beta carotene.
But they never really come down on one side. Like, was he frozen for a million years, or is he a million years old, or is there a family of them? They never really describe the process by which he went from millions of years ago to today.
No. Oh, and by the way, we mentioned the Unterpanze. And in case our listeners don't know, that's a reference to another show that
Which
we
is
love.
English
Toast
for
London.
underpants.
Yeah.
And it
What do
is
you think you're doing?
there's some underpants going on here in this movie.
That according to IMDb, John Hamill, who plays the second spelunker to strip to his undershorts during the opening cave sequence, he was used to this kind of exposure. In the late 1960s, he ranked as one of England's top physique models. You wouldn't know it by me looking at him in this movie. They all looked like somewhat shapeless, pale.
This was 1970 UK, though. I mean, that David Prowse was busy. He had other things to do at this time. He was working with Stanley Kubrick.
Oh, all right. Anyway, they discovered.
I think they were very attractive. This is where we are. I am just going to differ here with you a little bit and say that I think
I'm even more interested than you in everything you can find.
And well-muscled and attractive. I would say.
Okay, I'm bowing out of this conversation. Wow. So they run into this troglodyte who kills one of them in a fearful rage at invaders to his domain. Two of them survive. The police.
Well, he terribly wounds the other, and one of them is fine, except psychologically. And then Joan Crawford is one of the leading anthropologists in the world and has an institute in England, and decides that we must study this missing link. And they go on an expedition and bring him out, and hilarious hijinks ensue. Not intentionally hilarious. I think you're misrepresenting the movie a little bit. And no, I don't think they've intended this to be hilarious. I think the intention was to make a horrific, gripping, caveman thriller.
Yes, but if we characterize it as intentional, hilarious hijinks, then we'll be talking about people who succeeded in their goal.
Oh, well, I think, yes, but I think, the war here is a very multifaceted, and there are amazing skirmishes where you see people, you see a lot of people die on hills here, like really just go, I'm going to do this melodrama until I explode.
None more notably than Michael Gough.
Well, Michael Gough, who I didn't know wasn't named Michael Gouge, but I'll take your word for it. Didn't
leave me alone. Did it? Leave me alone.
That's how I go to sleep every night.
Leave me alone. Leave me alone.
There's so many places to start here. This movie is kind of like, getting shot in the face by a bunch of clowns.
Yeah.
And you don't really know which clown.
I know where I want to start.
Okay. Where do you want to start?
I want to start with,
Learning how to walk upright.
According to IMDb trivia, the ape suit was left over from Kubrick's 2001 A Space Odyssey. However, I want to say this. This is a movie in which we have a troglodyte being played by a somewhat flabby and unbelievably pale specimen of just plain old, like, English. Maybe
he looks like a rugby player.
Yeah.
He looks like your standard rugby player,
but not in incredibly good shape. Pale.
I just see you are very hard on these men.
Yeah. A pale and hairless rugby player.
Yes.
Playing a hairy, pale. The entire man is there, clearly just a guy, pale and hairless, with an incredibly huge hairy head popped on top of his body. So it's like two completely different creatures. And to make up for it, they took a little bit of fur and maybe glued it onto the back of his hands in a couple of places.
Well, look, you got to slow down. Okay, please. You got to slow down.
My mind,
because you're blowing past so much amazing stuff. The hair on the back of his hands isn't just like something to notice. The hair on the back of his hands is worse than Team America when they try to make that guy go through 6 hours of plastic surgery to look like a terrorist. It is that level of makeup job in a
Yeah.
real movie.
In a real movie.
Where they have a guy, like you said, just a hairless English beefy man with a mask on, and they have glued Brillo pads to the backs of his hand to the backs of his hands.
Yeah.
Little tufts of Brillo pad hair.
Yeah.
No, nothing else. It is that's all it is.
And it's not even clear that it's hair. It could be. I mean, I've seen stuff like that in like used for the filtration systems in kids' aquariums.
Sure.
Right?
That's totally what it could have been. But it's just like glued on matted like Brillo tufts on the backs of his hands,
Yeah.
and that's as far as they went. They stole a mask from 2001, and it is one of those masks, or maybe one of the ones they didn't use in the movie, like a prototype, because it's not really that good as the ones in 2001, or it had been really abused by this point. It was in rough shape.
Yeah.
And that was it. That was as far as the makeup department decided to go in a monster movie, which is there are low points here for monster design, and Trog saw that low point and went, screw it, we're not even going to try to compete.
Okay, I am not afraid anymore, and now
So the monster speaks.
Did you think that I was gonna tell you that this was actually a piece of like greatness?
Here's the conversation that I had with Mom yesterday. I said, if Tony goes to bat for this movie and starts trying to explain to me how I didn't understand
you missed something,
appreciate what these people were really trying to do,
then you were gonna just quit. You're not even gonna talk to me.
It is all over. And not just the show, our relationship and maybe the universe would come to an end. Producers have decided to bring Mom back on to
separate us.
That's very funny.
I did say that yesterday, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
Well, I thank you. Is this like, okay, so is this when you start getting nervous, Mom, watching the show? Do you start feeling nervous at this juncture when we get into this part of the conversation?
Yeah, it can be a little nerve-wracking. It can be particular if it's one of your favorite and most you respect it more than other films.
Yeah.
And Matthew just doesn't do it for him. And it's like, it gets a little touchy. I must say.
Okay. Well, I promise I will calm down and I won't get upset. And you have nothing to worry about. I apologize. There's no need to, no need to worry.
I'm getting the feeling that this would have been maybe the worst if you had loved it and Matthew hadn't gone.
Well, I need to just say one thing.
Here we go.
But I can't. The movie's one thing, but the experience of Trog and the joy that a person could have witnessing one of the worst movies ever made.
Oh no!
Is another story.
Okay. I will watch this again.
Okay, Okay, thank you, Mom. Thank you for coming in. If we start getting rough, come in and break it up. But we weren't really gonna argue.
We're not gonna fight over this one.
Totally, yeah.
One of the best pieces of trivia I've ever read in my life. Apparently, Joan Crawford allegedly drank Pepsi bottles full of vodka to be able to say the film's dialogue with a straight face.
Well, that sounds like a justification to me.
Never show fear.
Never show fear.
That sounds like I think she would have probably been doing that for a variety of reasons. For any reason, if you're drinking that much vodka during the day, it's gonna be for whatever reason that you say it is. It will be like, fine, sure. Thought it was funny, fine.
Yeah.
Couldn't remember your lines, fine.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They were out of pork chops at the butcher shop today.
That makes as much
Drank a
sense.
bottle of vodka.
Yeah. Okay, so okay. I wasn't getting frustrated with you because I was disagreeing at all with your take. I just need to slow down. These things are so bad. We need to kind of look at them in slow motion just a little bit, like the hair on the back of the hands.
Okay.
Because it implies something, and I'm serious about this. I think that the movie was shot entirely by everyone involved in a state of blackout drunkenness.
I think we should you know what? That's how we should have been reviewing this movie.
Who said I'm not?
You're both crazy.
You think I'm drunk? You should see Adam.
This gives me an idea for a special episode of the Arkin Brothers Talk About Movies.
Which would be, aren't they all special though?
They're all special, but this would be a very
special one.
I think we should get really, really drunk. We should pick very carefully a particular movie.
Okay.
And get really drunk. And
Big request. Big request though. It shouldn't be a live show. It probably should be like 1 week have the option to edit should things go really south.
To edit should things go. Okay.
I don't know. That's a tall order. Being that drunk live in front of people,
in front of
all the 3 or 4 people that are
all right.
Involved.
We don't have to do it live.
So okay. Where do we start? Let's get back to the show.
Where do we begin? Okay.
Were you aware before watching this of Joan Crawford's final years of her career? Were you aware of this? Like the Baby Jane onward, like what happened?
No, I knew nothing about it.
Did you know that this is her last film?
I learned that a few minutes ago.
So this is
producers told me.
This is Joan Crawford's last motion picture. She started making movies in the frickin' 20s. Joan Crawford was Fred Astaire's first dance partner in a movie.
Wow.
Joan Crawford did the first tap dance in a sound film that you could hear.
Okay.
Joan Crawford changed makeup design and how women applied makeup. She changed the silhouette of dresses and I mean, she was incredibly influential for a really, really long time. And this is the last movie. This is where it ended up.
Wow. That's
It's all your fault. I heard Mr. Murdoch at the public inquiry. He was right. He wanted to do away with your monster then, but you wouldn't let him.
Oh, that's really special.
She's in a similar. Okay, so let's take a similar star like Cary Grant, who was a giant star, made movies forever, for decades, phased out at a similar time. But before Joan Crawford, because what happened was he started seeing some movies and he was like, I'm in business. I make money doing other things. I don't need to make money in movies anymore. And I don't want people to leave. I don't want to leave here thinking I've overstayed my welcome. I want to stop before it gets really like nobody really wants to see me anymore. And he did. And he stopped. And I don't think Joan Crawford had a choice. I think she had to keep working. But it is a shame in a way because it's like to stop with Baby Jane or Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte would have been just such a much more interesting conclusion to that career than Trog, which is considered by a lot of people to be one of the worst movies ever made. And I don't know that they'd be wrong because it is notably greatly funny, hysterically bad.
Yeah, no, it's up there with The Room. It's up there with The Room.
Yeah. She made a slew of movies similar to this, like that you just kind of your jaw drops to the floor.
Yeah. There are things in this movie that are sequences. Okay, well, let's talk about the elephant in the room, or should I say the dinosaur on the television. There is a bad Harryhausen dinosaur sequence.
Hey, slow your roll with the bad Harryhausen. There is no such thing as bad Harryhausen.
No, I mean Harry Harryhausen. What was he?
Yes,
right? He was phenomenal. But they took that sort of style of thing and like bad version of it, right?
That was actual Harryhausen. That was early Harryhausen stuff.
That was early Harryhausen.
That was like from probably a cheap movie he did, but that was actually Harryhausen.
It's
and a lot of it.
Apparently, they're from his 1955 film called The Animal World. Was that Harryhausen producers?
I think it was actually Harryhausen animation. Yeah.
But they just okay. Well, here we go.
It's the greatest thing ever shot.
So they decide to
Trog has a trip.
They decide to operate on Trog to implant something in his brain that will allow him to speak, give him the power of speech.
Right.
And after they do it, he wakes up and we have the little spinning, we're going inside his brain graphic. And then we go inside his brain, and for some reason, he has a vision of dinosaurs fighting and a long sequence of dinosaurs fighting.
Yes.
Animated dinosaurs in his brain, or stop action.
Yeah.
Dinosaurs.
This is really the best thing about the whole movie, really. I think you've hit upon it. This is great.
Yeah. Dinosaurs fighting, dinosaurs hatching from eggs, dinosaurs falling off a cliff. Then the sort of them a volcano exploding and the dinosaurs being covered with lava and falling into sort of what is going to be, this is how the La Brea tar pits were formed. And then he is able to speak. So I don't know if there's science.
Well,
is there science to back this up?
Similarly, I was rendered speechless, so it's possible scientifically to do the opposite. I mean, look, okay.
Are they implying that he was alive at the time of the dinosaurs, and this is him remembering the dinosaurs, and so he's going to talk about it? What are they trying to tell us?
Why are you trying to apply logic to this moment of this movie? Suddenly, this moment should be logical.
Okay.
It's a long fight, is what I'm trying to suggest. If you're going down that road, I think that you've hit upon the one sequence in the movie that potentially I could start going down the road of arguing for its greatness here.
Yeah, and that's what would happen if you did that.
No, because you're going to have to hear me out in a conversation, because we do that now. In 2023, we're going to have polite conversations and let people talk and listen to each other and hear them out. That's what we're going to do.
Okay.
Quietly, very gently. Quietly. Right. You can trust the mic.
Okay.
Trust the mic.
All right. I'm okay.
I would, if
in that case, I'd advise you to cooperate.
If I wanted to, I could make a case for that sequence representing like something that made the movie great. That actually, because if you just think about it conceptually for a minute, what you're watching is a paleontologist, taking a Neanderthal man and dosing them and putting them through the Ludovico treatment. This is a year before Clockwork Orange, and they Clockwork Orange this caveman to have hallucinogenic drug trips. This is 70, so they're talking about this. This is LSD time. They dose him in a chair in like a MK Ultra experiment. And then 15 minutes of the movie are from another movie. I know you're bored with the whole analysis. conceptually, that is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And it's so funny when it happens. And the fact that Kubrick stole it, come on, it's great.
Wait a minute.
For those of you listening to the podcast, that was the best stunt in the movie. That was the cameraman getting hit with a boulder.
So when you say Kubrick stole this, you mean stole it for Clockwork Orange?
Yeah, well, Clockwork Orange came out after this movie. So what I'm saying is they, it's very reminiscent of the Ludovico treatment. That's all I'm saying.
You're both
Right.
crazy.
Yeah, there we go.
You're completely disinterested in my in when I decided to get critically analytical about it. You just thought you would go to sleep, which I understand. I'm just saying you happen to talk about the one sequence that made this movie conceptually kind of genius.
Oh, you're getting into touchy territory here. Maybe each of you take a deep breath. Think about the good times. I just encourage you not to go further along this line because it could it could be very funny for a lot of the viewers. To me, it is funny, but it troubles me.
But we're all, we're on show. This is a family of showbiz people. The show really should take, I think, front seat consideration.
All right. No, I have to admit it. I have to speak my feelings. I have to speak.
You do. No, it's good.
I just see a little danger on the forefront here.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Mom. All right, Mom.
Anytime.
All right.
All right.
The gorilla, the ape, and the baboon were beginning to leave the forest and the jungle.
So, you need your mom to protect you from
I think you misread what happened there.
Oh.
I think that I was scolded that you clearly she came in to say I think you typed in help me,
No,
I didn't.
No, I think she was saying I was needed to be more respectful of your
No, I think I felt
analysis.
exactly the opposite. I felt, and she's gonna have to come in and break this up now because I thought the same thing. I thought that she was talking to me saying I should cool it and not get upset about this stupid movie.
No, she was clearly saying that I need to have more. Oh, there she is. She's settling it. She's here again, settling it. Mom?
Yeah, you're on.
I think you should both. What I was thinking was that you should both watch out.
Whoa.
Oh.
Oh.
Whoa.
Ugly. That was all.
Okay.
We never show fear.
Okay. Both of us are responsible.
No, it was an evenly based comment. And I just got nervous that, it could get a little tough. But it gets very funny too. So in homage to show business, I think, you go on with it.
This whole abomination is hurting business.
Now, okay. Can we talk about Michael Guff for a little while?
Please, I'd love to. Let's talk about everything. The wardrobe, the hair. He's like the James Woods of England.
Yeah, but he went on. He was an acclaimed actor. Tony nominations.
Everybody in England is an acclaimed actor, Matthew. All of them.
But it's as if I think his because I've seen him in other things in which he's wonderful. He played Alfred in 4 Batman movies and was wonderful, understated, elegant. And it's as if he got up and said, this, and I've done this. I have done this on low budget movies. I have said, unfortunately, I haven't had the opportunity to then show the other side, in high budget movies. Let me show you my good work. But I have been in movies where I said, nobody's going to see this. I'm getting paid $17. It's a piece of crap. I'm going to do the most outlandish crap you could possibly imagine. In fact, that wasn't me, but it might as well have been me in some of the performances I've given in low budget movies. I mean, IDAO comes to mind. That
It
moment,
does.
right? Just
It does.
decided.
Which
Yeah.
I think is great that it came out of you just not knowing what the line meant, and you said it
Yeah,
anyway.
just yeah. So I understand when I see an actor in a piece of crap just saying, I am going to go balls to the wall, 300%, and see what happens.
Of yours.
Yeah, and it's really his performance is really kind of wonderful. In its sort of unadulterated, pure, sneeringness. If
Yeah,
that's a
I mean,
word.
he goes full like Charles Dickens with it.
Yeah.
He just decides to go 100% into the ridiculous melodrama of that character.
Yeah.
Which makes zero sense. I mean, none of it makes any sense at all. I mean, it doesn't. This movie doesn't make sense at a really intense level.
Well, his
It
entire motivation
it doesn't. It makes
ruining.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's ruining my plans for a housing project. Nobody wants to buy land with an ugly demon running loose. That's our intro.
Well, yeah, it's the thinnest of possible structural screenwriting devices. Why he would care that there's a specimen at an institute? Why there'd be an institute of paleontology there? Why she's publishing hit books about Darwinism in 1970? Like, none of it makes any sense. Most interestingly, why he thinks the taxpayer money is going to fund this monster. I don't understand that part. It was nonsense, and Michael Gouge seemed to understand that, or Michael Guff seemed to understand that.
Gouge.
As did, our great friend Thorley Walters as the magistrate. There's another actor that we saw from Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed who played the inspector in that movie, and what's great about Thorley Walters is that he played it as big as Gao, but had less ideas. He just went big and stayed big, but didn't fill it with anything. He's hysterical. He really does remind me of Toast a lot. Thorley Walters.
Stephen Toast, not
Stephen Toast.
not-
And a piece of toast.
and a piece of toast.
But you wonder about stuff because, okay, you've got some fine English actors here, some fine British stage actors and with film experience, and you've got, Freddie Francis was not obviously a great director, but he did direct, Day of the Triffids, which is a much, much better movie than this, and Tales from the Crypt, which is
What?
And he also is better known as a director of photography, but like an excellent director of photography. Did you know that?
Yes.
Like he shot movies like The Elephant Man and David Lynch's Dune. He worked a lot with David Lynch, and he shot Glory and Cape Fear for Scorsese. Like a great, great DP. And the DP of this movie was Desmond Dickinson, who, started shooting movies in 1927 and shot Olivier's Hamlet, among other movies. So there's a lot of talent at the head of these departments here. Joan Crawford was obviously scrambling to, make a buck, I guess, but she was Joan Crawford. I'm going to lay the blame on, other than alcohol, which I think really did have a big effect on the making of this movie, was the writer Aben Candle, whose other biggest claim to fame was writing the movie I Was a Teenage Werewolf with Michael Landon. I think some of the issues came out of this because
You don't feel
director
that,
and DP did things that were really good, like at least workable.
so you feel like the script was for this was weak.
I think that it had some problems.
Did you like this sequence where there was dramatic footage of them watching dramatic footage?
Yes.
There's a whole long sequence where they're watching some movies that they're showing to Trog, and we have long shots of everybody watching the footage. Yeah. There's also okay. Here's where I'm afraid of treading. I'm afraid to.
I'm not going to start punching.
No, not
at
with
any
you.
of this.
Not with you. It's just I don't know that I can. I can't even talk about it.
Come on.
Okay. The rogues gallery, shall we call it, of other scientists that are brought in to consult are from another movie, right? It was a different casting office that was casting. Maybe they had a casting office next door where they were shooting a movie about an 19th century traveling circus in the English countryside with different nationalities as the bearded lady and the Dr. Faustus magician guy.
It's incredible.
And suddenly
it's like Madame Blavatsky. It's like Madame Blavatsky's troupe of occultists show up.
Yeah.
To study this
as the
monkey.
visiting scientists in 1970. and it's like where did this come from? I was astounded.
I feel like there's moments of, because I know Freddie Francis's work, and I know he's like a serious person as a artist, as a cinematographer, right? And after this movie, he made important art. He didn't make this movie and then get smart. He was smart when he made this movie. The DP of this movie was smart when he made it because he had done things before and after that were really quite good. Whereas this movie is it's a complete fiasco.
It's the worst lighting I've ever seen in any movie ever in my life.
Well, I would disagree with you though, because the interiors are pretty well lit though. Studio lighting kind of on point, don't you think?
I don't.
Yeah,
maybe.
Kind of on point for some of it. So, like, some of the shot patterns are smart, and it's like the photography isn't to me the worst part of this. It's like it actually looks a lot more handsome than some other, like, than the worst movie you've ever seen. Because you're thinking like, Boggy Creek or some Bigfoot movie from the 70s, which really looks bad. Like that stuff looks bad.
Yeah. All right.
That's where I think this movie does have a lot of interesting things about it to watch, that it's not just a crappy movie, that it's got those things that I love about a crappy movie that make it special, which is kind of like a pedigree of people involved that it should have been better,
But I will say about the caving sequences, the lighting in the caving sequences, all I could think of was a story that I heard from Dad about the shooting, the making of Back to the Future.
I told him.
Hey, somebody having fun?
I told him that story.
You told him that story, and then he told me the question of where is the light coming from in the cave, from the same place that the music is coming from. But that cave is lit like they're running around with flashlights in a cave that is as bright as day, like the sun is shining in that cave.
Yeah, well, yeah. Part of the reason for that is that back then in 1970, they were using film stock that was not light sensitive at all. And in order to get anything on camera, to get an exposure properly at all, you had to blast it with light. You just had to. and that was, you know, that was a restriction of the time a little bit. I'm not saying that they.
But there were ways to shoot something that made it look like it was in the dark. I mean, look at Wait Until Dark, which was 1967. There's sequences in that movie where even though we can see what's happening, we are aware that the space that the actors are inhabiting is dark. Whereas this, it looks like the space that the actors are inhabiting is in
I see what you mean.
It's in bright sunshine.
Yeah. No, yeah, okay, sure. But I mean, my point being, yes, I agree with that. But yet it was DP'd by the guy who shot Hamlet.
Yeah.
So what happened is the question.
That's
what's
what
going
I'm trying
on
to figure out. What is going on?
Right.
What do you think is going on?
What I think is going on is that you're comparing what Wait Until Dark, which was more of a part of like almost like, you know, newer technology than you're going back to guys that were shooting movies in the 20s. There's a real stodginess and a real like British studio system that you see at work in the way the movie's made.
Right.
But that system worked when they had the money behind it to make that system work.
Right.
You know, it was the same system that Hitchcock worked under when he was doing his British movies. And nothing much had changed almost by 1970. They were still figuring stuff out. Some of those guys were still making movies like they were in the Hammer days, you know, which were still going on. You know, like we forget like
this, which were the hammered days.
The hammered days.
These guys were probably all hammered while they were making this movie.
Well, it does feel like it was all made during a blackout. That's what I'm like. I'm really not kidding. Like, I really feel like there would be days of work where everybody just blacked out and didn't know what had happened during that course of the day of filming. It has that vibe about it.
We're getting along.
Corner, here I am.
What did we do this time?
What?
We were getting along.
You are getting along. I just commented about that. I commented about that to Alexis. So what was it I said? They're working it out. They always have.
Well, yeah, we were working it out. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm pleased with that. Very
Okay.
pleased. And I'm questioning your background, Matthew. Where are you?
It's a cave.
It's real.
It's a cave like where Trog was discovered.
I get you. Okay. Well,
He often does the background that's
I know
connected
that.
to the movie. Yeah.
I've seen that many times.
This one doesn't speak to you.
For me. No, it tells me to leave, but I'm not going to.
No, don't leave, Mom.
What?
So, now, can you hear me? Can everybody hear me? Because it seems like we're not on the show
We're just
anymore.
looking. They got rid of.
They fired Matthew and me. And
Elliot's putting all the focus on Mom because
Well, look at that.
he likes you. He likes you more than us.
So
he's amazing. I admire him so much. I just told him that in the chat section.
Oh,
No, I do.
Yeah.
do. Yeah.
It's an essential ingredient.
Yes.
Isn't that wonderful?
He's
So-
a master of the clip.
Have we inspired you to want to see Trog?
No.
See, we failed, Matthew, because we really, I think this movie, we can't talk about it in such a way so that people aren't inspired to see it, because I think it should be seen.
Yeah, but okay. So how should it be seen? What is the way that somebody should watch this movie?
I think the best way to have watched Trog would have been with Betty Davis.
Sitting next to her, you mean?
Yeah, to see it with her, watch the movie with her.
Well, that would have improved it, probably.
I want to try and come up with a drinking game for Trog, like those drinking games where every time something happens, this particular thing, you take a drink.
Well, so what's the drink? Did you make a drink? The Trog?
Oh,
weren't you going to do one?
Well, I tried. I really tried to come up with a drink for this movie, which would have to be called something like Trog Grog, or Trognog.
Trognog.
Insane nonsense.
Would be made with batch 22 and algae foam or something. I don't know what you would make it with.
I'm gonna come out swinging for why people should see Trog. Okay. I'm gonna give you a long list of things that I love about it and that are just great.
Okay.
And it started with the hair on the top of the hands, but
I
we've
haven't
already
seen
discussed that.
Elliot, could we see that?
I don't know. I don't really see the hair on the hands. Oh, they didn't even put it on in that shot. It's missing in some of the shots. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just dirt. On it.
The shotgun sound effects for the dart gun, I think, are almost worth the price of admission. And anytime that you see her firing a shotgun or holding a gun, it's the funniest. It just becomes the funniest movie that's ever been made.
Okay. What about her outfit for her spelunking outfit and the flashlight that she carries for?
Well, that flashlight is not doesn't seem to be like cave registered. I don't think
it's a little flashlight that you carry in your purse in case you drop your keys as you're approaching the house.
Yeah. The outfits are all amazing from her. I don't know if you know this. This was her wardrobe. This was her personal wardrobe. They didn't have enough money to get her a costume, so she contributed her own personal clothes to the film.
Well, apparently everybody did.
Yeah, but I mean, she's in all these scenes. It's a lot of clothes. Michael Gouge just had to wear one crappy black suit. Everybody else got off easy. She had to supply all of them, and it was a different safari outfit or scientist outfit or thing. Like every scene. That's a lot of work for her. None better than the little kangaroo pocket pouch that's right under her stomach that she puts her hands in very awkwardly. That yellow dress.
Yeah,
I wish there was a shot of that. I'm just going to keep going on the things I love. The design of the movie is extraordinary because I don't know a scientist who has a sideboard in their laboratory that has skulls on it. It's like it looks like a dish sideboard where like you'd put the serving utensils, and it's got like an array of monkey skulls. Feeding Trog the rubber from the bucket of rubber lizards.
Rubber lizard diet. It was great. Yeah.
I mean,
I want to see it now.
You need to see it.
Yeah.
The sequence, the montage of Trog playing with the children's toys.
Oh, yeah, that's spectacular.
Now, argument for the movie being actually well constructed, that little doll, of course, is just like the little blonde girl that he kidnaps.
Yes, which is why he kidnaps her. To call back to that. I also do. There's a little social commentary in the sequence where they are teaching him about the modern day, and they play some classical music, and Trog gets all happy.
Rock and roll is not good.
And then they play some rock and roll, and he freaks out.
Well, he's either that or he's having a great time, and they misinterpreted it. But yeah. So they're very down on pop culture and rock and roll in this movie, in this universe.
Yeah.
Toys for Trog, obviously fantastic. The Trog, the sequence where Trog wreaks havoc in town is also, along with the brainwashing sequence, which I do really love, is kind of the best of its type, where he just goes into town, and town is just like a 1 block long, and he beats up the produce salesman, and he kills the butcher. And then he tosses a car over, and it's the best exploding car I've ever seen in a movie.
Well, cars too, they instantly explode when you.
British cars did. Don't buy British engineering.
And the other thing is
Here, Trog.
Our producer Alexis points out that if you pick somebody up and drop them on the ground, they die.
Yeah, that's how it works.
That's how the physics of this movie.
Do you have a favorite line?
My favorite line is
so the monster speaks.
It's a big step, but if the operation is successful, Trog will be able to talk. And then we go into the dinosaur sequence. But I also, I told you my favorite line before is it's ruining my plans for a housing project. Nobody wants to buy land with an ugly demon running loose.
That's a great line.
That's a great line. None better than, I implore you to let me go back with my hypo gun. Or the line that I believe should have been the byline on the poster. He's had enough brutal suspicion. This is a troglodyte that's murdered 2 people already, right? And who is being kept on taxpayers' money for these ridiculous experiments. And but yet she sides with him, saying he's had enough of this brutal suspicion. That's about Trog himself.
There's also, I consider Dr. Selborne's conduct treachery.
Not treasonous,
but treachery.
How can you go wrong with her pronunciation of after a few more eons? Is that eons? Did you mean eons?
Yeah.
After a few more eons.
He's dangerous.
And our producer is pointing out this, when she says treachery, there's a shot of everybody in the courtroom shifting in their seat. Because treachery is,
it's bad.
Yeah.
You don't want to do anything like treacherous.
Yeah.
I think it really all boils down to the fact that at the end of the day, the best thing in the movie is the Pepsi stand by the they set up for the news crew and everybody to go see the monster troglodyte.
Yes.
We do know that that Coca-Cola was in every movie that Joan Crawford did, like from Whatever Happened to Baby Jane onward.
Yeah. It's important stuff.
You know why, right?
She had a contract with them, didn't she?
Her husband was the president, and when he died, she maintained like a huge percentage of the company as a head of the board of directors. So she was like one of the big players in that company.
Then why did she have to do all this stuff for money if she had?
Well, I don't know, because maybe because she was a woman and didn't get a good contract and was getting screwed, even though that's probably why.
That could happen. Okay.
I'm not saying anything about the patriarchy. I'm just saying that maybe it was hard for her to make the money. But yeah, she was responsible for putting the product placement of her stuff in every movie she did.
So do you have a double feature for this movie?
Yeah, I do.
What's that?
It's a movie called Wicked Stepmother, which is Bette Davis's last movie, and it's directed by Larry Cohen and should probably be as good. I've never seen it, but I think a terrible, terrible Bette Davis movie and a terrible, terrible Joan Crawford movie as their final films would be a great double bill.
Wow. Should we cover that movie?
After our Crawford marathon, maybe so.
All right. What's next in our Crawford marathon?
We didn't recast it yet.
Yeah,
You didn't. You just didn't. So you didn't even bother asking if I had done it.
Did you recast it?
You just don't care, is what it is. You don't care what I did. Recast it, and I cast it with Bette Davis as Dr. Brockton, and David Prowse as Trog, and Donald Pleasance as Dr. Murdoch.
That's now. See, that movie would really be worth watching.
I would love to compare and contrast them.
I would watch that movie.
Yeah. There it is.
Wow,
it's a Larry Cohen masterpiece right there.
Larry Cohen.
So that's Trog, Mom. I do this show every week, hoping that no matter how bad the movie it is, unless it's
we need the public on our side.
That's all I'm saying. We just need the public on our side.
Yeah,
we want people to see these terrible things at the end of the day, to experience it for themselves, because there's a lot of fun there. Would you see this movie based on our conversation?
Would I?
Yeah.
Now I would. At first,
no, okay.
After your conversation, now I would.
Okay.
So what are we doing next week? Straight Jacket?
Let's do Straight Jacket, sure.
All right.
IDK, yo!
Oh,
I was going to bring up one other piece of genius filmmaking that I could go to bat for here, but I think
Please,
that would just
no,
make
I
you
want
upset.
to hear it. I want to hear it.
I think there's actually like a genius Hitchcock editing moment in the
Okay.
movie. Just a very brief.
What do you think you're doing?
I'm going to continue to support this show is what I'm going to do. When Trog is first revealed in the cave to the public, the photograph that they take of him raising the boulder over
Yes.
his head, in a series of quick cuts, goes from that to like a newspaper to them looking at it, at the newspaper. And it's a fantastic series of cuts and worth like studying. Because it's the image in the poster. It's like he holding the boulder over his head when we first see him standing on that rock ledge. And they do this like time jump from there through the development process of the film, through the being in the paper. It's really cool. And
I'm gonna have to go back and look at that sequence again.
Just a little flash of genius.
All right.
And then it's over. That's the last genius you'll see.
The whole thing right there.
That's it. That's all I got. I got nothing left on Trog.
Okay, we have wrung Trog dry. But we'll be back next week with Joan Crawford in Straight.
Yes. What indeed.
What indeed. All right. Please join us and tell your families, tell your friends, tell your enemies.
Tell your moms.
Tell your mom.
Tell everybody. Thank you for being here, Mom.
Thank
you for being a guest and for keeping us on the straight and narrow here.
I do my best. Yes.
See you next week.
Talking about cocktails that are stylish, movies great or phony, and how Tony should win a Matthew, and Matthew should win a Tony. But in the meantime, talking about film in the meantime, the Arkin Brothers talk about movies.